Hi, welcome to Finance 113 class. I hope you've had some time to look at the Blackboard site for this course. So in this video, what I want to go through is how the Blackboard is set up and how to access the class notes. And then we'll also go over the outline for the class. So if you look at the Blackboard site, this is how it is set up. Your main areas on the left hand side are course content, MyLab Math, and then discussions, announcements, and self-assessments. So let's go over each of them so that you have some idea about how the class website is set up. So when you press into course content, this is what you would see. Getting started is, well, if you just press there, you will understand how to navigate the Blackboard. But I guess you will get that with quickly with practice. So let's go into course outline and MyLab Math registration info. So when I press that, I get into the Finance 113 Fall 2020 course outline. So let's go over the course outline first. All right, so I'm going to just zoom it a little bit. Okay, so this being an online term, one of those unusual times. So the university has set up some guidelines, and I encourage you to go through these guidelines to make yourself familiar with the copyright issues, and also about if you want to use some of the material in this class. Basically, the idea is that you, whatever you use in this class, you don't want to share that outside your classroom with other people who haven't done this course. Okay, so this is Finance 113, Introduction to Quantitative Decision Making. I think in many ways, this is one of the most foundational courses that you can do as part of your BCom degree. It will help you get set up for all the quantitative courses that are to follow. So it's a really good course, and a big chunk of the course is actually going to be a review of the math that you've already learned before in high school or in some of your previous classes. It's 3-credit class, and of course, this being an online class, so all the notes will be shared online through Blackboard site. My own, so just a quick introduction about myself. My name is Rohit Jindal, or you can call me Rohit. I'm an associate professor at McEwan. I've been teaching here for quite a while. And before coming to McEwan, I was based at University of Calgary and later at University of Alberta. In terms of educational background, I have a PhD in applied economics from Michigan State University, which is probably also known for its football and basketball program. Anyways, more about that at some point. So in terms of contact information, the best way to reach me is to email me, and my email ID is given here. Now, you can also, if you feel like talking to me, you can use this number, but that number will only be available during office hours. So this is a McEwan number that becomes operational only during these office hours, which are on Wednesdays, 11 to 12. Now, we could either speak to each other on phone, or I can also set up a Skype meeting with you if you want to have a face-to-face meeting with me during office hours. Or you can send me an email and then we can fix some alternate time for you. But the best way to reach me, as I said, would be the email. Okay, now let's talk about the textbook. So there's only one required textbook for this course, and it is called Quantitative Decision Making. We have a custom edition for McEwan. It's called the second edition, but really if you have the first edition that you've already gotten from one of your friends, that would also work. Or if you want to buy right now, then you can buy it from the McEwan bookstore. But what you need to remember is that the book comes with a MyMathLab access code that you will need in order to do your assignments. Now, if you already have the book, then you can just purchase the MyMathLab access code. And I'll show you how to do that when we go into MyMathLab registration. So you can just purchase the code, or you can buy the textbook that will come with the code. So the choice is yours. Now, whenever you access MyMathLab, you can also access the ebook version of the textbook. Also note that the textbook has answers or solutions to odd number problems at the end of the book. So if you're solving some problems from the book, you can always look up the answers, and they are at the end of the book or at the back of the book. Okay, in terms of some quick description about this course. So this course, as I said, is a really good foundational course for business students, because what it'll do is one part of the course is focused on kind of giving you a quick review of some of the math concepts that you've previously learned, like ratios, proportions, decimals, fractions, percentages. And then building on them, we learn how to look at simple interest, compound interest, and how are bonds and annuities structured. So, which is, as you know, a big part of the business. For example, what are the annual payments when somebody takes a mortgage, or for example, when people buy life insurance, then how much do they pay each year? Or if they have bought an investment, then what is the rate of interest and how much money can they expect to receive after a certain period of time. So problems like this, concepts like this would form the backbone of this course. And we will also be looking at what is called as linear programming, which is basically solving some equations to have optimal resource allocation. So for example, let's say you're a manager, you have certain staff members that report to you, and then you have to allocate them depending on the requirements of your organization. You can use linear programming to do that. Similarly, for supply chain majors, if they want to talk about invoice processing, then again, linear programming can be very useful. So those are the the objectives of the course, and you can look at the learning outcomes. But let's talk about the grading evaluation. So the course really has, I would say, two major components in terms of evaluation. One is the exams, of course. So we'll have midterm 1, midterm 2, and the final exam. Midterm 1 will be, you could take anytime between October 7 and 8. It will be a 60-minute exam. Similarly, midterm 2 will be, you can take any time between November 4 and 5, and that will also be 60 minutes. And then the final exam, you can take any time between December 16th and 18th, and that will be comprehensive and will be 180 minutes long. Now, all these exams will be conducted through Blackboard. And we'll talk more about the exams later in the term 2, and then and I'll show you what are the chapters that will be covered for each of these exams. Now, in terms of the assignments, which are also very important, you have individual assignments that provide, or that weigh 23% of your overall grade. So almost 1/4 of your overall grade is actually these individual assignments. So these 12 assignments that you do through MyLab Math. And the reason to have these assignments is because you will find that each time you do a chapter and you do the assignment, it's a really good review of the chapter that you've done. Another thing is that when you're doing these assignments, you get 3 attempts to do each assignment, and only the best attempt it gets graded. So, there's no reason why you should lose any marks on these assignments. And I'll also talk about the due dates for these assignments. We also have one group project. So I do realize it's an online course, and probably there may be some issues regarding formation of groups. And if you have, if you want to form groups with people you already know, great. If not, let me know and I'll help you out. And we'll talk about the group project. I'll be posting some guidelines on Blackboard. So that'll be 7% of your grade. And finally, online participation is 5%. So the details are already posted on Blackboard. It's basically a couple of small things that you can do on your own and get 5% of the grade. The idea is to apply whatever you're learning in this course towards some financial decision making, like looking up a stock or a bond or something that you're interested in. And that's a great start for a business degree, right? Okay, so then in terms of, exams, you don't want to miss any of the exams. And of course, this being an online term, the exam deferral policy is still being discussed at the university level. So given that we have a reasonable time frame to do the exams, make sure that you already pen it down in your calendar, and then that way you don't miss any of the exams. Okay, and then how the letter grades are given out. based on your performance in the course. Now, really what I've seen is that people generally who do well in assignments and of course do well in the exams do pretty well on the course. So, you know, you don't want to take any of them lightly, but if you are on schedule with these components, there is no reason why you wouldn't do well in the course. Okay, then you know, some of the usual policies, including of course the academic integrity. So basically it's saying that you should not you know, cheat or use material from online for assignments that are due. Okay, so now let's talk about the schedule. Now, I do realize that this is an online course and there are different ways of going about this, but given these concerns regarding server, the McEwen server, and a lot of students finding trouble in being online at the same time, so there will not be any synchronous live lectures. But what I'll do is for each of the chapters, we will go with a mix of class notes that I will post on Blackboard. So it could be modules that you kind of do on your own or some PowerPoint slides or handouts. And then wherever necessary, I will also be posting some pre-recorded videos that you can go through to understand these concepts better. And of course, if you have any questions, then I'm available during office hours and we can have a face-to-face meeting. So essentially what we're doing is the chapters are listed here. So this week, in the first week, is mainly review of some mathematical concepts. So chapters 1, 2, and 3. And then next week or week 2, we continue with chapter 3, then move on to chapter 6, and so on and so forth. So I do encourage you to have a look at these chapters and have a look at the book and see how they are set up, because we do not do all the chapters from the book, but we do quite a few. I think we do not do chapter 8 and 9. So we do 1, 2, 3, then we move to 6, then chapter 7, and then come back to chapter 4 and 5. Okay. Then we move on to chapter 15, 16, 17, which is basically linear programming. So this is right after Thanksgiving. And then come back to chapter 9, 11, and 12. And finally, we finish with chapter 14. So yes, so some of the chapters are omitted. So make sure you know which chapters we are doing and which we are not doing. Now, on the right hand side, you see the due dates. So A1, A2, A3, A4, these are all the MyLab Math assignments that are together provide 23% of your grade. So if you look at the end, I do have the due dates written again. So these are my MATLAB assignment due dates. So there are 12 of them. The first one is due September 16th, then September 20th, and then 27th. So make sure you become familiar with these due dates, because you don't want to miss these due dates due to any reason. And like I said, each assignment you have 3 attempts to do them, and you get the grade out of the best attempt. So there's no reason why you shouldn't be doing well in these assignments. Also, the group assignment will be due Sunday, November 8th. So I will post the guidelines regarding that pretty soon. Now, in terms of your online participation, well, what I would say is if you do that, you know, as soon as possible, then that's great, because then you know that you've already finished that component while you know, there is enough time, and so you get graded for that. Okay, now in terms of exams, like I said, the first midterm is, you can take it between October 7th and 8th. It will be 60 minutes, and it will be from chapters 1, 2, 3, 6, and 7. This will be through Blackboard. We'll talk more about the exam, you know, later. And I'll also tell you about the format of the exam and what you can do to do well in the exam. Similarly, midterm 2, you can take anytime between November 4 and 5. It will be from textbook chapters 4, 5, 15, 16, and 17. Again, 60 minutes. And finally, your end term exam will be 180 minutes. It'll be comprehensive. We'll cover the entire course, and you could take it anytime between December 16th and 18th. So that is the course outline. Now let's go and look at how do you register for my MyLab Math. So yes, so the registration details are in this file, MyLab Math. So if you click on this, you will see that it will give you step-by-step instructions on how to register for MyLab Math. Now, as I said, you have a couple of different options. You can either buy the textbook and the code comes with it. So you can buy the textbook from McEwan's store, or you can just buy the code online if you already have the book, and then you can just buy the code. So how do you buy the code is that you go to MyLab Math, click here, and then you can press on any of these links. Maybe the first one would be better. And then when you press on that, you will go through to the sign or login page, and then the system will prompt you if you want to buy an online code, and you can just do that if you don't want to buy the textbook or if you already have the textbook. Then this is the discussions. So this is where, the first one is introduction. So, this is more for everybody to just introduce themselves and talk about their expectations from the course. And then these two headings, stock recommendation and interesting financial news item, are the ones for your online participation. So you put your post here, and then I will know that you've done your work, and then you get graded for your online participation assignment. Then there are also some self-assessments which are ungraded. So right now I have given you some practice questions from the first couple of chapters, the first 3 chapters actually. And these are not graded, but these are mainly for your own practice. And what you can do is you can do these questions and the system will tell you the correct answers, and that way you know whether you've understood the concepts or not. And then obviously you can also do the MyLab Math assignments, which would further help you review the material. Here is information about me. So if you ever forget, then this is my email ID. If you want to send me an email, please send it through your MyMcEwan account. Don't try to send an email through Blackboard, because sometimes the emails are not forwarded, and that way I will not get the email. Okay, now going back to course content. Here are different folders. So here is a folder for online participation, which is worth 5%. So if you click on that, then you see this file and it gives you details about your online participation assignment. Let's go back. Now the group project folder, I will be updating that shortly, and I will post details on how to do the group project, which will be worth 7%. Now let's look at the course notes. So this will be your main folder. So this folder contains all the course notes and video links wherever relevant. So this is going to be your main folder for all the class notes. And the way it will work is, so let's go into course notes. And right now we're in week 1. So you press week 1. And basically, the first one is meet your classmates, gives you some quick introduction about the class, about me, and then how do you communicate with your classmates. But let's talk about the notes. So for the first week, what I've done is I've given you access to these modules from the 3 chapters. And essentially what happens is that as you go through these modules, so I'm just pressing them, and yeah, so here is all the relevant information, and then there are also some examples that you can go through and solve them on your own, and then look at the answers. So this way you will get to know this material. So for the first 3 chapters, these modules are a good place to start, and of course you also use a textbook wherever you need to go into detail. Let me go back to course content and into course notes. Yeah, so I will be posting weekly notes here, and then many times I would also have some pre-recorded videos wherever I find that it will be relevant for people to understand a concept and it's not clear from the notes itself. And obviously if you have any questions, you send me an email and I'll try to respond as soon as possible. Okay, so I hope that's a good introduction, and welcome once again to this class, Finance 113.